Welcome back to the channel JF Coin everyone. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating coins that millions of people overlook every single day, the 1990 Lincoln penny. At first glance, this small copper-colored coin looks ordinary, just another 1-cent piece sitting quietly in your pocket, your piggy bank, or the bottom of a drawer. But what if I told you that some of these tiny coins could actually be worth thousands, or even millions of dollars to collectors around the world? Yes, the humble 1990 Lincoln penny from the United States has captured the attention of coin collectors, historians, and treasure hunters because of its history, minting process, and the rare errors that can turn a simple coin into a valuable collectible. The story begins with the famous American 1-cent coin known as the Lincoln cent. This iconic coin features the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, design used between 1959 and 2008. The motto "In God We Trust" appears above Lincoln's head, while liberty is placed on the left side and the date appears on the right. This design has become one of the most recognized coin designs in American history and has been produced in billions of pieces over the decades. The 1990 version of this coin may look ordinary, but it belongs to a fascinating period in United States mint history when production changes, minting errors, and modern collecting trends made certain coins incredibly desirable. In 1990, the United States Mint produced an enormous number of pennies. More than 11.7 billion Lincoln cents were struck across three major mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia alone produced over 6.8 billion coins, Denver struck nearly 4.9 billion coins, and San Francisco created just over 3.2 million proof coins for collectors. With such huge numbers, it might seem impossible for a coin from this year to be valuable, but the truth is that rarity does not always come from low production numbers. Sometimes it comes from mistakes, special varieties, and coins preserved in perfect condition. To understand why collectors love the 1990 penny, we must look at the metal composition of the coin. Since 1982, the United States Mint changed the composition of pennies to reduce production costs. Instead of being made mostly from copper, modern pennies, including the 1990 version, contain a zinc core with a thin copper plating. The composition is approximately 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper. This change happened because copper prices were rising and producing a penny made entirely of copper was becoming too expensive. Because of this change, the melt value of a typical 1990 penny is actually less than its face value. But here is where things become interesting. Even though billions were made, collectors discovered that some 1990 pennies were struck with unusual errors. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the coin production process. Sometimes the metal planchet is incorrect, sometimes the die used to strike the coin has a defect, and sometimes the mint mark is missing. These mistakes can transform a coin that should be worth 1 cent into a rare collectible worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. One of the most famous varieties from this year is the legendary 1990 No S proof penny. Normally, proof coins produced in San Francisco carry a small S mint mark under the date. However, a small number of proof coins were accidentally struck using a die without the S mint mark. As a result, these coins appear with a mirror-like proof finish but without the expected mint mark. This simple mistake created one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents known to collectors. Some of these coins have sold for thousands of dollars depending on condition and certification. The rarity of the No S proof penny is extraordinary. During production, the United States Mint realized the error and destroyed many of the coins, but a small number escaped into collector sets before the mistake was caught. Because of this, surviving examples are extremely rare and highly prized by collectors around the world. Some experts estimate fewer than a couple hundred examples remain today, making it one of the most intriguing modern mint errors ever discovered. But that is not the only valuable version of the 1990 penny. There are several other mint errors that collectors constantly search for. One of these is the double die variety. A double die occurs when the coin die receives multiple impressions during the manufacturing process that are slightly misaligned. This causes certain letters or numbers on the coin to appear doubled. On some 1990 pennies, the doubling can be seen in the date, or in the phrase "In God We Trust." Depending on the clarity of the doubling and the condition of the coin, these pieces can sell for anywhere from $50 to more than $100 or even higher. Another fascinating error is the broad strike error. This happens when the coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally holds the metal planchet in place during the striking process. Without the collar, the metal spreads outward when struck, creating a coin that is wider than normal and lacks the typical raised rim. Broad strike pennies from 1990 have sold for significant premiums, especially when they are certified by professional grading companies. There are also rare cases where a 1990 penny was struck on the wrong metal planchet. For example, some coins have been discovered that were accidentally struck on planchets intended for other coins or leftover copper planchets from earlier years. These unusual coins are extremely rare and can sell for thousands of dollars at auction depending on their condition and authenticity. Condition is another major factor that affects the value of a coin. Even a common 1990 penny can become valuable if it is preserved in perfect mint state condition. Coin grading systems use a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a flawless coin. High-grade coins from 1990 have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars because collectors compete to own the best possible examples. According to market estimates, top-grade specimens can reach several $1,000s when certified by professional grading services. This is why collectors often examine their coins carefully using magnifying glasses or microscopes. They look for tiny details such as doubled letters, missing mint marks, unusual surfaces, or strange shapes. Even a small difference can turn an ordinary penny into a collector's treasure. For people new to coin collecting, the idea that a penny could be worth thousands or even millions may sound unbelievable. But throughout history, many rare coins have reached astonishing prices. Coins become valuable because of rarity, historical importance, demand among collectors, and unique minting mistakes. The Lincoln Penny series in particular has produced some of the most famous and valuable coins in American numismatics. If you want to check whether your 1990 penny could be valuable, there are a few simple steps you can follow. First, examine the mint mark under the date. AD means it was made in Denver, and S indicates San Francisco proof coins, and no mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, look closely at the lettering and numbers for signs of doubling or unusual shapes. Then inspect the edges and surface of the coin for cracks, bumps, or missing details that might indicate a mint error. Finally, consider the condition of the coin because coins with sharp details and original shine are usually worth more than worn examples. Another important tip is to never clean old coins. Cleaning can damage the surface and drastically reduce the value of a collectible coin. If you believe you have found a rare coin, it is best to store it safely and have it examined by a professional coin dealer or grading service. The excitement of coin collecting often comes from the possibility that a valuable coin could still be hiding in everyday change. Many collectors have discovered rare coins in coin jars, bank rolls, or pocket change. The 1990 Lincoln penny is a perfect example of how something small and ordinary can become extraordinary when history, rarity, and curiosity come together. So the next time you see a simple penny with the date 1990 and the words "In God We Trust" above the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, remember that this tiny coin carries a story of American history, minting technology, and the thrill of discovery. It may only be worth 1 cent, but in rare cases it could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more to the right collector. If you enjoyed learning about the hidden value of the 1990 Lincoln penny, make sure to check your spare change carefully because you never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. Coin collecting is more than just a hobby, it is a journey through history where even the smallest coin can tell an incredible story and sometimes even change someone's life. And who knows, the next valuable coin might already be sitting in your pocket right now. If you want, I can also write 7,000. 9,000 word YouTube script for better watch time, viral title plus thumbnail text plus SEO description hook for the first 20 seconds to increase retention. Today we are talking about the incredible story, history, and potential value of the 1991 D Lincoln penny, one of the most widely circulated American coins that still hides surprising secrets. The coin we are focusing on belongs to the famous Lincoln cent series created to honor the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 and became the first regular circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. The portrait used on the front of the coin was designed by artist Victor David Brenner, and it has remained one of the most recognizable images in American coinage history for more than a century. By the time the 1991 penny was minted, the coin already had a long history behind it. The reverse side still featured the Lincoln Memorial design created by Frank Gasparo. That design was introduced in 1959 and shows the famous Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., along with the words United States of America and 1 cent. For decades this design remained unchanged and millions upon millions of coins were produced every year. In 1991, the United States Mint produced enormous numbers of Lincoln pennies to meet demand for everyday transactions. In fact, billions of coins were struck that year across several mint locations. The Denver Mint alone produced more than 4 billion pennies, with the small letter D Mint mark appearing under the date on the front of the coin. United States Mint was responsible for producing these coins, and the high production numbers meant that most 1991 pennies were extremely common in circulation. But even though billions of these coins exist, collectors know something important about coin collecting. Sometimes the rarest treasures appear inside the most common coins. Most ordinary 1991 pennies are worth only 1 cent or slightly more, especially if they show signs of wear from circulation. However, when the coin is preserved in near-perfect condition or contains a rare minting error, its value can increase dramatically in the collector's market. A normal circulated 1991 D penny might sell for just a few cents, but collectors start paying attention when the coin is found in pristine, uncirculated condition. Coins graded at extremely high levels such as MS-67 or MS-68 can already command much higher prices. And when a coin reaches the incredibly rare MS-69 grade, the value can jump into thousands of dollars because almost no coins survive in such flawless condition. One example of a 1991 D penny graded MS-69 red was sold at auction for more than $5,000, demonstrating just how powerful condition can be when determining a coin's value. Only a tiny number of coins ever reach this grade, making them extremely desirable to collectors who want the best possible examples of every coin in their collection. But condition is only one part of the story. The real excitement in coin collecting often comes from minting errors. When coins are produced at high speed in minting machines, small mistakes sometimes occur. These mistakes can create unusual varieties that collectors actively search for because they are far rarer than normal coins. One of the most famous types of errors is known as a doubled die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin receives the design more than once at slightly different angles. The result is a doubling effect that can sometimes be seen on letters or numbers. On some 1991 pennies, collectors look closely at the words "I in God we trust," "Liberty," or the lettering on the reverse to see if any doubling appears. If the doubling is strong and the coin is in good condition, collectors may pay significant premiums for it. Another fascinating type of error is called a strike-through error. During the minting process, a small piece of debris such as grease or dust can become trapped between the die and the coin blank. When the coin is struck, that debris leaves an unusual mark or missing design element on the finished coin. Some strike-through coins from 1991 have sold for dozens or even hundreds of dollars depending on the severity of the error. There are also off-center strike errors where the coin blank was not properly aligned when the press struck it. This results in a coin where part of the design is missing and the blank metal is visible. These coins can be especially eye-catching and collectors love them because each one is unique. Perhaps one of the most unusual errors involves coins struck on the wrong type of metal blank. Occasionally a penny may accidentally be struck on a planchet intended for a different coin. In rare cases, a penny design has been struck on a dime blank, creating a smaller coin with the penny design but the weight and size of a dime. These rare mistakes have sold for thousands of dollars at auction because they represent a fascinating error in the minting process. The composition of the 1991 penny is also an interesting piece of its story. Earlier pennies were made mostly of copper, but rising metal prices forced the United States Mint to change the composition in the early 1980s. By 1991, most pennies were made of 97.5% zinc with only a thin outer coating of copper. This change made the coins cheaper to produce while still maintaining the familiar copper appearance people recognized. Because these coins contain a zinc core, they sometimes develop unusual surface effects such as bubbling or plating errors where the thin copper layer separates from the metal underneath. While some of these issues are considered damage, others are recognized as legitimate mint errors that collectors enjoy finding. Collectors also carefully examine the lettering on the reverse side of the coin. The spacing between the letters in the word America can sometimes vary between different varieties. Although the famous wide AM variety is better known from later years, collectors still examine 1991 pennies closely just in case unusual spacing or rare die variations appear. So where does the idea of a penny being worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions come from? In many YouTube videos and online discussions, extremely high values are sometimes mentioned for dramatic effect. In reality, the majority of 1991 pennies will never be worth anywhere near that amount because billions were produced and most remain very common. However, the key lesson in coin collecting is that rarity combined with condition and historical significance can create extraordinary value. While a typical 1991 penny may be worth only a few cents, a rare error coin or a nearly perfect specimen can sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars. And history has shown that certain rare pennies from other years have sold for hundreds of thousands at auction, proving that even the smallest coin can sometimes become a major treasure. This is why coin collectors encourage people to check their pocket change carefully. Every day coins pass through millions of hands, and occasionally someone discovers a rare variety hiding among ordinary change. The thrill of that possibility keeps collectors searching through jars of coins, bank rolls, and old collections hoping to discover something extraordinary. If you happen to find a 1991 Lincoln penny in excellent condition, the first step is to examine it closely under magnification. Look for unusual features such as doubled letters, missing design elements, off-center strikes, or strange coloration that might indicate a planchet error. If the coin appears unusual or extremely well preserved, professional grading services can authenticate and evaluate it. Professional grading companies assign coins a grade based on their condition using a scale from 1 to 70. Coins graded above MS-65 are already considered very high quality, and anything approaching MS-69 or MS-70 becomes extremely rare for circulation coins. Collectors also consider the color designation of the coin. Red pennies with bright original copper color are usually the most valuable because they have not yet toned or darkened over time. Coins labeled red, brown, or brown have gradually lost some of their original luster, which can affect value. The story of the 1991 penny reminds us that coin collecting is not only about money. It is also about history, art, and the excitement of discovery. Each coin carries a story from the year it was produced, reflecting the economy, technology, and culture of that time. In 1991, the world was experiencing major historical changes, including the end of the Cold War era and shifts in the global economy. Meanwhile, billions of pennies were quietly being produced and distributed across the United States, becoming part of everyday transactions. Today, those same coins still circulate or sit in jars and collections, waiting for someone to examine them closely. So the next time you see a penny, do not dismiss it as just 1 cent. Take a moment to look at the date, the mint mark, and the condition of the coin. You might discover an interesting error or a high-grade example that collectors are searching for. And remember that coin collecting is a hobby where patience and curiosity often lead to surprising discoveries. Whether a coin is worth 1 cent